Welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I'm joined by
Hillary,
Sarah,
and Jackie.
On today's episode, we premiere our rebooted Lady Bits segment. Each month, we'll tackle an issue or topic related to women in film. Let's get into it.
Oh, you men are all alike. 7 or 8 quick ones and you're off with the boys to boast and brag. You better keep your mouth shut.
Yes, we got Jackie back. This is our new Lady Bits episode. So if you guys have been listening to the show before, Lady Bits used to be sort of a hodgepodge of things that we talked about related to the film. And we're shaking things up a little bit. So on today's Lady Bits, we're actually going to tackle a topic about women in film. And of course, now we record the month prior to when these episodes come out. So we're going to be talking about a topic that may not be hot button news, but I think we're going to approach sort of the larger... Excuse me, that was my pizza rolls coming back. We're gonna
welcome back.
Welcome back, pizza rolls. So we're gonna be sort of approaching not just the topic itself, but sort of a broader look at that topic. So today we're gonna be talking about the Uma Thurman, Quentin Tarantino. I mean, actually, there's a whole cavalcade of issues.
Thing.
He's on it at this.
He's a problematic person.
At this moment in time, he's kind of on his apology tour.
Yeah.
At the time of this
Did you
recording.
see the apology tour?
Is he though?
I mean, there's a lot of articles about, I mean, he's apologizing. Okay, we'll get into that. We'll get there. Sarah doesn't know anything about this.
Nothing.
So we're going to explain.
I haven't read anything.
Well, this
We're
will
gonna
be good
explain.
because I know a little bit, but I don't know everything.
So first of all, I just want to say that and I think this is a good topic for this because the movie we talked about takes place in the 90s and Quentin Tarantino's rocket ship to auteurship happened. Well, I think he's had a pretty a solid career since then, but I mean, Pulp Fiction was the jumping off point for him, which of course came out in the 90s and starred Uma Thurman. So Quentin Tarantino, I can remember people in high school standing on tables and reciting the whole honey bunny, bitch, be cool, whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? That was like a common, and then everybody was memorizing Samuel L. Jackson's Ezekiel speech. This was legit something that happened regularly.
The Bible verse he made up, you mean?
Yeah, no, that's not a real Bible verse. But people would recite, it was a huge part of the zeitgeist in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that they are really good films. They're excellent. They're great. Yeah. They're well written films.
I do just want to ask: was anyone reenacting the scene from the Pulp Fiction? With the ball gag and Bruce Willis and all that?
Not that I know. But
you didn't see that in the lunchroom?
I didn't see that in the lunchroom. There were a lot of people who wanted to go medieval on someone's ass, though.
Okay.
That's where that came from. I heard that phrase my whole life, and then I saw it. I saw that movie last year.
Are you actually somebody was anally raping someone in the lunchroom?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking. With a ball gag.
Yeah, with a ball gag.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then my dad was like, that's where that phrase comes from. And I was like, wow.
So I've always, first of all, finding out that Quentin Tarantino is a shady character is not surprising.
It's not.
Nope.
I was
It's
not
like
surprised.
Not shocked.
your weird Uncle Kurt that you're like, oh yeah, no, that guy's fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
you're
surprising.
Like, oh, yeah.
But
Kurt's a good name, though.
yeah, I think so.
I'm just going to say Kurt's a good name. It's my boyfriend's name.
Oh shit! Sorry,
Your
Kurt.
weird Uncle Steve.
Weird Uncle Steve. Yes, Steve.
Yeah, we'll go with
Steve. Let's go
Boy,
with Steve.
not Kurt.
Let's go with Steve.
Kurt is a normal person.
So I feel like Quentin Tarantino certainly shaped my emergence as a filmmaker, as did a lot of people.
Sure.
And so many, in fact, that when I was teaching film, there were quite a bit of bad Tarantino wannabes trying to be Quentin Tarantino in a lot of the films that I was grading as my time in the teacher. So let me just say that. Okay, so here's the deal. So recently, of course, there's been all this stuff coming out about Harvey Weinstein, and Quentin Tarantino worked with Weinstein on all of his films until the recent one. He's now taken that to Sony, I believe. There's a movie coming out taking place around the time of the Manson murders, but not necessarily about
the Manson murders.
The Manson murders.
Yeah.
And he's now taken that to Sony.
Okay.
So Quentin Tarantino already came out and said, yes, I heard about I knew what was going on with Harvey Weinstein. Everybody did. I could have done something. I didn't. I regret that. So that happened.
Okay.
Then about a week or two ago.
Yeah, it was very recent.
What was the name of the writer? Was it Maureen Dowd?
I think it was Mary Dowd.
Okay. Was it Maureen or Mary? Wait, I actually do have it written here somewhere, I think.
I'm pretty sure it was Mary, but I could be wrong. It was the same woman who covered Monica Lewinsky.
Okay.
Back in the day. And that's...
Yeah, you've got something to say about that.
Well, part of it is, I was listening to a really great podcast called Keep It, who was talking about this issue and, like, how these events sort of came to light and how the writer, like, it's important that we have a writer who is going to tell you the facts but also be sympathetic to the person, and like you can't fault Uma Thurman for who she felt comfortable coming out to, but this particular writer has been known for ruining women who have come out, and like that's one of the things that she's known for with Monica Lewinsky is that originally she was like, I'm not going to let anyone else cover her, like this poor girl, I need to protect her, blah blah blah, and then she was the first person to like call her fat and like accuse her of
so are we now worried she's going to turn on Uma Thurman? Is that kind of the implication there?
I don't think so. I think it's just like her integrity as a writer about women's issues is kind of compromised.
Okay. So she's not an unreliable narrator.
How old is she
Yeah.
if she was covering Monica Lewinsky?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But Uma Thurman has obviously like been angry about this for a while too. I mean, because there was that video of her on the red carpet several months ago as well when they asked her about it, and she was just like
about
I just
Harvey
can't.
Weinstein. She's
like, she was like, I can't
can't
now.
speak when I'm angry.
Right. And
when I'm not angry, I will say what I have to say.
Exactly.
Right.
And
it
part
was
of
like
this was coming out
fire
about
in
that.
her
Yeah.
eyes.
Oh yeah,
fire
she
in her
was-
fucking eyes.
I think she sort of spoke for a lot of women at that time. But
so
that was the controversy with the writer that who wrote the article.
So this article came out. The title of the article was "Why Uma is Angry," and the bulk of the article was her talking about Harvey Weinstein and the like how that he had assaulted her and that he had tried to make a pass at her multiple times. He assaulted her. He actually held her down and some really horrible shit. Yeah. How she brought this up to other people and they kind of swept it under the rug, as seems to be the case with a lot of that stuff. And how by the time they got to making Kill Bill, which was this movie that at the time, I mean, I saw that movie multiple times in the theater. That movie was one of the reasons that I decided to go to film school. I was like, wow, look at this badass female character on screen. This is fucking great. That movie was billed as like a partnership between them, but they had come up with the story together, that they were almost like working on this thing. Tarantino and Uma were like tight partners working on this shit together. They'd come up with a story together.
Right.
So in the article, she also says that, so there's all this stuff about Harvey Weinstein and we're reading it and you're like, oh, this is fucking horrible. And like, this is exactly what I expected. And but what I was not expecting was this story about on the set of Kill Bill that she had to drive this old car they had modified. That was a stick shift car. They modified it to be an automatic, I believe. She says that she was told by the people who provided the car that the car was fucking wonky. And she was like, I want a stunt driver. I don't want to drive this car. I don't feel safe. And she says that Quentin Tarantino was adamant that she was going to drive this car. And it was like through it wasn't on a road. It was like in a fucking dirt road.
It was a dirt road and she crashed it into a palm tree.
She crashed into a palm tree. She was told by Quentin that it was safe and that he had tried it and that everything, it's not a stunt and, and basically kind of like, trust me and let's just do this. And I also remember her saying in the article that he said, now make sure you get the car up to 40, 45, so that your hair whips around, because if you don't, we're gonna go back and I'm gonna make you do it again.
Yeah.
And she says that the car crashed. She says she has permanent neck problems and knee damage, and that
she
it broke their
suffered
trust.
A concussion.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
She suffered a concussion in the crash.
Right. Yeah. She says that it broke their trust. She says she didn't feel like a partner anymore. She felt like the studio immediately covered it up. She wanted to see the footage. They wouldn't give her the footage.
Give her the footage.
Yeah.
Even though there was footage of it, they wouldn't give it to her. And then,
right, because they were
surprise me.
filming.
on top of that, Quentin Tarantino told the stunt coordinator to stay home that day. There was no stunt coordinator on set that day. And the stunt coordinator for Kill Bill has come out and said, I was told to stay home.
Wow. Well, that's interesting because that's not what he says in this Deadline article.
It was one that I read the other
Yeah.
day. Actually, I tweeted
Yeah.
it from the Critical Crop Top account. But he says he was told to stay home that day.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So now she says to try to get the footage. Finally, 15 years later, she was able to get the footage. And I've seen it.
Yeah.
And you've seen it. I don't think you've not seen it.
I
You've
have
not seen it.
Mm-mm.
It's upsetting. I
Yeah.
mean, she's driving this car. You see her lose control of the car and hit a palm tree. And she's like laying there. She obviously looks out of it. You see Quentin Tarantino come up. He seems
How is
very
she
concerned.
laying there? Is she not in the car?
She's
anymore?
in.
She's in the car.
It's
but
a
she, like,
fucking convertible.
Yeah, it's a convertible.
She could have
Jeep.
been like decapitated.
That's
Yeah.
the thing is like the stunt.
She's not wearing a
the
fucking
stunt
helmet.
coordinator said it was like it was a possible decapitation, and they were like, if in the crash the camera that was placed directly behind her had come loose in the crash, it could have killed her.
Or if the car had rolled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an old ass car that's a convertible. Also, I don't know what all the shots were they had planned, but the fucking one that in particular is from behind.
yeah.
There is literally no reason not to have a stunt person drive that car.
Yep.
Right.
You couldn't even see her face. So, but then the footage, he's like Quentin Tarantino comes up, he's like rubbing her back and like brings her some water, and they have to lift her out of the car and like carry her away. I mean, you can tell that he's concerned.
Yeah.
You know, he's not just like, "Oh, fuck you," but you know, like he obviously seems upset.
Right.
But you know, it was his choice to do this. You know,
Yeah.
but also like, where was the production manager? Like, where
Right.
was
Yeah.
the AD? Like, did no one else go? Maybe
We should have the
That's
stunt
part of
coordinator
their-
here. Like that's
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, in the article that I read too, they talked about how it's the onus is on the actor to report it to Equity or SAG. It's it's no one else's job on set. Like it's their job to say this is unsafe, blah blah blah. But like if the actor's not comfortable with it, it's their job to be like no and report it to the union. It's no one else's job.
I mean, I feel
do
like
that.
to me when and again, like we work on a lot of small stuff, you know, together. We do a lot of indie stuff. But when I'm ADing on someone's set, like I feel
Yeah.
responsible for people's safety.
I know.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And I feel like I would want to step in and say, I mean, again, this is a small set, but I feel like
Do you think
the
it was a
above the
matter-
line people are kind of responsible too. Like no matter what the chain of command responsibility is.
Do you think it was a matter of if you question Quentin kind of
I
thing?
want to get to that, and
Yeah.
we're going to get to that in a second. But yes, I do think that that's part of the problem. So let me get through the rest of the story. But so she eventually got the footage. It's now, you can see it. It's on Reddit. It's everywhere. What people mostly focused on in the article was this bit with Quentin Tarantino, not so much about Harvey Weinstein. Maybe that says something about us that we're now just like desensitized. We're like, oh yeah, and it's
Yeah.
another fucking monstrous story about Harvey Weinstein. It really affected me. It really affected me a lot because I feel like, and here's the thing that I wanted to talk about today, and I got some other stuff I want to talk about his response maybe a little bit after we get into this, but what this to me is the problem here that we're seeing is like the idea of the auteur, like the idea that there's a director and they're in charge of everything and what they say goes. And like Quentin Tarantino is part of that lineage of like the auteur that, you know, is kind of maybe a creep or like weird or treats people, does whatever they want to get, like anything to get the shot or whatever. And maybe they're difficult to work with. Although Quentin Tarantino historically has a reputation as being this director who's an actor's director who like
Right.
Yeah.
is so great to work
Right.
with. But like there in film school, this idea was perpetuated that if you like what the ultimate thing you wanted to be was this auteur who, you know, had control over every aspect of filmmaking, and the film was all about an extension of your ego,
Right.
which I think all of us who have worked on a film know is fucking bullshit.
Right, right.
Exactly.
Because a film isn't made by one person.
Absolutely not.
And the thing is, these people, these auteurs like Quentin Tarantino and like Stanley Kubrick and like who's another fucking monster. We can talk about him in a minute.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock, who treated Tippi Hedren like garbage.
And Woody Allen.
And Woody Allen. All those people work with the same cinematographers over and over again. They work with the same editors over and over again. They work with the same actors over and over again, because that's the consistency is being created through a team of people.
Right.
So the whole idea of one person having control over every aspect of the movie is fucking garbage.
Right.
And
I
it's
agree.
just like to me, it's an extension of the idea of like toxic masculinity, this like dictator that can behave any way that they want and ask
Right.
anything of anyone, and you're lucky to be working with them.
Yes.
And so
It's
that's
a
the
privilege.
broader topic I wanted to talk about. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking for a second and let other people chime in. Because did you read? You read some of it, right, Jen?
I did. Yeah, I did. I had heard about it. I didn't, and I had heard about the car situation thing, and what's sad about it is that happened how many years ago, and it took Uma Thurman this long to say something. And I'm not. And
15 years, something like that.
15.
Yeah.
15 years. Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why she did say something was just given the fact that so many people have come out and stated what they needed to say.
Yeah.
So I think that she probably felt the courage and the voice and confidence enough
To
now
finally say it,
to
yeah.
say it, because she'd have people who would support her and back her on it at this point in time. So, you know, I feel sorry for her that she had to hold that in for so long, because that's awful. That is absolutely awful.
Yeah, and I'm sure she did it because like Quentin Tarantino is loved. Like everyone thinks he's a great guy and loves his work.
He's a god
and
in the film
Yeah,
world.
he is. Yeah. I think like great guy, I don't know, because I do think people think there's like he's kind of like, I think there is like a sense that he's got an ego and he's kind of fucking
but they don't think he's
clearly got a drug problem.
bad. Like I
But people
I
love to
don't
work
get the
with him.
sense that he's like
Yeah.
being thought of as like a bad guy.
I think he's
Yeah.
like an actor. Like when you ask, people in Hollywood who they want to work with, like Scorsese, Tarantino.
I hope nothing comes out about Scorsese. He's like my Tom Hanks of directing.
Right. But you know
Not
what
that
I'm
he
saying?
has
Like,
women in
there's-
his movies, but
They're like on the top. When people think of like the top 5 people you would want to work with,
Yeah.
like I'm sure he makes that list.
Yeah.
So
I think there's this idea. Again, I'm going to take this back to the idea of the auteur. I think there's this idea that to make great art, you have to put yourself through some kind of torturous process, and that you have to be willing
so
to
true.
do anything and everything uncomfortable, and that if somebody's asking you to do something that doesn't feel right, it's your boundaries are being pushed in a good way.
Yeah.
Right. It's for the
Right.
art. It's for the good
Yeah.
of
It's
the
for the
project.
art,
It's not,
Should
it's
never-
not about you.
Yeah.
And that's fucking garbage to me.
no, that is complete
Yeah.
garbage.
You can and should create beautiful work in an environment where everyone feels heard and respected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can and you should.
Absolutely.
And this is a thing that has been, the idea of the tortured genius has gone on too long. And that's kind of what this brought up for me. And I think the reason people latched onto it is because like it's really kind of another side to the idea of abuse
Right.
and authority out of control. And that is like that women often don't have a voice. They're expected to just do whatever they're told on set. And then after it's over, you don't talk about it.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally
Yeah.
agree.
And
Yeah.
in theater too. This happens a lot with people in the
Absolutely.
theater as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's that, and then I mean, for God's sake, Stanley Kubrick, one of the most celebrated directors in history, what he did to Shelley Duvall on the set of The Shining was fucking
Horrible.
horrible.
So I don't know that story.
Okay, so and you can watch if you go and watch. There's a documentary made by Stanley Kubrick's daughter. God, what the fuck is her name?
I don't
It's on the tip of my
remember.
tongue.
But are you talking about Room 237?
No. That's a
one?
documentary. That was a really
about
that's
The
a fucking
Shining.
weird. Well, it's
It's-
actually more about conspiracy theories around The
yeah.
Shining. But his daughter filmed like on set constantly. So you can go. There's a documentary about The Shining by Stanley Kubrick's daughter, and they were estranged at the end of his life as well. But so if you watch the footage, like he is horrible to Shelley Duvall. Like he berates her. He doesn't speak to her respectfully, and he treats Jack Nicholson totally differently. And Shelley Duvall said the experience on set was so miserable working with him. Also, he would make her do like 40. I mean, he was well known for making people do 40 something takes.
Right.
But Shelley Duvall in particular, he made her do take after take after take after take after take. And
I can't imagine doing that for The Shining. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
also,
such a powerful
yeah.
I don't want
movie.
to do 40 takes of anything.
I know.
Like, go
Yeah.
fuck
There's
yourself.
no
Well, like,
point.
the
Like,
part-
why?
One of my friends told me in particular the part where she has to swing the bat
Yes.
at him was just that was like
That was
done
like 60 takes.
so
Yeah.
much that
Where
she
she's
was
walking backwards
crying
up the
like
stairs.
Yeah.
like she was crying out of not wanting to do the take anymore,
Right.
not
Exhaustion.
out of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Shelley Duvall said the experience was so terrible that her hair started to fall out and that she was having like panic attacks and stuff. And Stanley Kubrick, his opinion was, well, you know, maybe I did mess with her a little bit, but I wanted her to be the abused wife. Like that's the character she was playing, and I wanted her to be the abused wife. And it's like,
In real life, though, like she doesn't have to be in
I'm
real
like,
life. It's called acting.
she's a fucking
It's a-
actor. Like
Yeah.
maybe let her
a
act.
job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
And if she's
Novel concept.
if she isn't acting the part, then get another fucking actor. Don't like
Right.
emotionally damage
torture
somebody
her.
Right.
to like, I mean, it's just, again, it's garbage to me. Like this is not the way we need to make movies or any art whatsoever. Like that is not why we're doing this.
I agree.
So the other thing that came out in the article was that Uma said, has everybody seen Kill Bill?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
I have not.
No,
I
did you
haven't
say
either.
no?
Oh my God. It's actually a really great.
Oh my
I know this is
God.
horrible,
I
but
haven't-
but it's
I
a great
saw
movie.
So
this one,
great.
but I haven't seen the others since then.
And I'm very conflicted about that,
Yeah.
but it's a great movie. Okay, so in the movie, there's some shit that, I mean, you know, it's about this woman who's like she's out for revenge, right? And she runs into some gnarly characters. There's a scene where she gets spit on by someone. There's a scene where there's this like teenage assassin who like wraps a chain around her neck and chokes her. And in the article, Uma said there was and again,
Didn't he actually spit on her too?
yeah, in the article, and this was not a quote from Uma, this was just said in the article. It was said that he did a lot of the, and again, this is from the article, sadistic quote things himself, like spitting and choking her. So that was something that people were upset about as well.
So she's in the shot and it's his hands or his spit.
He was
or-
the one holding the chain, and he's the one who spit on her, yes. Which, as I read that, I was like, that's fucked up. Also, I kind of understand because, like, you, as a director, you don't want to make actors do awful things to other actors.
Yeah.
So if
but
that was the thinking, I
still.
don't know. That's, again, that was my first response. But also, the way it was framed in the article was that there was something sadistic about it. But I don't know. Like,
Has he
Yeah.
responded to any of this?
yes, I have the response.
Okay.
I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
Okay.
As far as, in fact, there's a lot of other shit too. I don't know if we even have time to get into all the shit. I don't know if we have time to get into his whole interview that resurfaced with him talking about
Dylan
Roman
Farrow,
Polanski's. Well, it was Roman Polanski and what Rebecca Gilman, I think, is
Was
the
it?
young
Okay.
lady, the 13-year-old
And
that
you were
he
worried
raped.
we weren't having enough to talk about with this topic.
Yeah. So I don't even know if we have time to get into that.
I don't know. I think we should just because we brought
Well,
it
let's-
up.
yeah,
but
let's
like
go ahead.
with the Roman Polanski thing, it was an article or not an article. It was an interview he did with Howard Stern on the Howard Stern show a long time ago, talking about how it wasn't really rape that he did because it was statutory rape, and statutory rape is different because this 14-year-old girl apparently wanted it, and he stuck by his guns, even as the other hosts on the show were like, but she was drugged, but she was drunk, but he like fed her drugs and like all this stuff, and she was 14, and he's like, oh, girls know what they want, like she wanted it kind
Sarah
of thing. And,
looks like she wants to hurt someone.
it's disgusting to listen to, and like one of the podcasts that I listened to played the audio of it, and I was just like, oh,
I haven't
God.
listened to the audio.
It's
I
really
read it,
gross.
but,
Like
yeah.
you shouldn't. It's just gross listening to
Don't do
somebody
that to
defend
yourself,
that.
is
And
the-
like,
yeah.
yeah, because there's another woman on the show who's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's just like, it's fine. It's rape is forcible. Like you have to force yourself on someone. It's a violating act, not what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
My God.
yeah.
So
right?
there's
It's
that.
bad.
Also, a video resurfaced from a behind the scenes. Well, let's just get it all out on the table, and then we'll talk about his response. Also, video came out this morning as I'm like looking up these other articles. I'm like, oh look, there's another thing. There's a video that resurfaced from the set of Grindhouse. It's a behind the scenes footage of Quentin Tarantino being a zombie on set and actually biting Fergie, the
Fergie.
actor, biting
Yeah, I
her,
saw
and
that
it's a
this
behind the
morning.
scenes. They're
Causing a
joking,
bruise.
joking about it. They're laughing and
Like,
joking
she
about
shows
it.
the bruise.
She's like, "Look, he bit me," and Robert Rodriguez is like, "Yeah, Quentin just gets really into his work." And I'm like, if any motherfucker leaves a fucking bruise on my arm. Anyway, we'll get to that as well.
Jackie's
Fergie
face,
did come out.
she's just
Jackie,
like-
everyone is this okay for a comedy podcast, you guys?
I think so. Whatever.
I definitely, yeah.
I think that's all I know of right now. Now, I have not been on the phone since we got here, so maybe 5 more things came out. But it's been a big week for Quentin, you might say.
Yeah, someone should bite him and
choke
so
him,
we can get
spit on
really
him.
into our work too, and just kind of see how he feels when he gets a bruise like that.
Look out for my new film, Biting Quentin, coming in
Biting
2019.
In that
what a bastard.
video, Robert Rodriguez at that part was like, well, he bit her. I mean, he didn't draw blood.
He didn't draw blood,
but
he broke the skin. Maybe.
Yeah. I was just like,
it was very dismissive. Again, like you can see the machine in motion of like dismissing. But Fergie herself came out and said it was just banter. She called it banter. She was like, that was our way of relating to each other on set. She's like, that's just fucked up. Well, she's like, I stand with all the victims of the Me Too movement. I stand with them. No matter who you are or what your experience is, that's just not my experience. That's what she said.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well,
but he fucking bit her. It upsets me.
Yeah.
It upsets me.
I wouldn't have wanted to be bitten, but I've also had
I don't like
weird,
to be bitten by a dog, let alone another person.
No.
I've had weird like things that I've done with people on set before that like other people probably wouldn't be chill with. But like I used to act with an actor who like if I was taking a nap in the green room, he would come and cover me like a blanket, and it was just like something that he would do and just like lay on top of me for a minute, and he'd be like, you have to come back on now. And I'd be like, okay. And it was just a funny thing that we did. But like other people probably would not be cool with being mounted by a man.
One of my scene partners used to show me his dick.
Yeah, see, that's not okay.
I would be running lines. This was in high school.
In high school?
And I would be,
That's different.
I would be in the green room running lines with him, and then he would wait for me to look up, like he would
like,
pull
"Look
his
at this
dick
baby
out
bird I have."
because I'm like, look, and he would be. He would like pause. He would like pause. It would be like his turn to talk, and I would look up, and his fucking dick would be out.
Maybe it just needed some air.
God. That's terrible. Nicole, did you tell anyone? I'm
terrible.
guessing
No,
not.
because I was
Awful.
15 years old and I laughed it off. Because that's what you do.
I'm so sorry.
I feel
Nicole.
like
I mean, I'm not traumatized by it, but I now
would've
realize
been. I would have
Like,
been
I'm
at
not
15.
traumatized. I do think.
I do realize in retrospect that that's not okay. But at the time,
Right,
of
but
course,
you're
I just
15
laughed
years
and
old.
like,
What do you
isn't it funny?
know?
He showed me his dick.
But you don't know anything at 15 either.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Quentin Tarantino saying that she was 14 and she what do you know?
Yeah,
when
what do
you're
you
14
know?
years
Exactly.
old? You
What
know
do you know?
nothing.
Also, I'd like to add that
Exactly.
I was not out and about showing my vagina to anyone.
Yeah,
That
no,
didn't
no.
ask.
Yeah.
So
I never whipped a titty
Just
out
saying.
to anybody.
Yeah,
Did
no.
not ask me.
No.
Nope.
Okay,
I like
so
that you yanked your shirt up as if you,
did, like,
you
I
were
was
like,
like,
oh
do
no,
I have a
I hope I don't have a titty
maybe
out.
I do. I'm not wearing a bra.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna say Quentin Tarantino. Like fuck you. What a. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
seriously.
not
I want to hear
good.
his response. I wanna
It's
hear
not
his
good.
response.
Okay, so let's start with the response to the Howard Stern thing.
Okay.
So he did address that.
What did he say? But she was 14.
He said, and this was
Statutory rape isn't
recently. This happened today, or not Thursday. This came out Thursday. This is The Guardian. I want to apologize publicly to Samantha Grimer for my cavalier remarks on the Howard Stern show, speculating about her and the crime that was committed against her. 15 years later, I realize how wrong I was. Is it Geimer? Anyway, Ms. Geimer was raped by Roman Polanski. When Howard Stern brought up Polanski, I incorrectly played the devil's advocate in the debate for the sake of being provocative. I didn't take Ms. Geimer's feelings into consideration, and for that I am truly sorry. So, Ms. Geimer, I was ignorant and insensitive, and above all, incorrect. So that's what he said
That
this
was
week.
well written by his
I
publicist.
hate
Yeah.
when people play devil's advocate. That's
Yeah.
how I broke up with
But-
my last
But
boyfriend. was
also,
because he was
you're
playing
not a devil's advocate.
about
You're a dick.
yeah.
Like,
You
pick,
can't
maybe
argue
you wanna
for
be
child porn, like,
maybe
or
you,
child
maybe you want to be a
molestation.
devil's
You really
advocate
can't.
about whether or not, like, The Last Jedi was a good movie. Okay,
Yeah, I
let's
know.
play
Yeah.
devil advocate with that. But
Yeah.
with
Or it's like you
14-year-olds
say it-
getting raped.
You want Italian and you want Chinese. Let's play devil's
Devil's
advocate.
advocate,
What
some
about Mexican?
Yeah.
You know, that's
I mean,
a
that's
devil's.
okay.
That's
Is
a
amazing.
good devil's advocate to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
Not
Not
was
about
this
rape.
14-year-old raped?
No.
I mean,
No.
how many drugs was Quentin on when he was on Howard Stern? Hard to say. But still,
it was
no
the
excuse.
90s, to be fair.
Was it? Wasn't it the early 2000s?
Either way,
'Cause
the
I'm
early
pretty
2000s
sure.
was basically
Actually, it
the
was
90s.
2008. It was
90s
2008.
Oh, that's not even
or
early.
2007. Yeah, it was not that long ago.
But it only took you
bummer.
15 years to figure it out that you were wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
if it was 2008, then it wasn't
Look,
15 years. That was
Do
10
I think
years.
it's good that he apologized? Yes. Do I think it excuses that at any point he would think to say those words? That's fucked up.
It's extremely fucked up. And so he makes an apology. He's forced to make an apology because someone brought it to light now.
Yeah.
There would
Yeah.
never be
He
an
wouldn't have
apology.
apologized if it
back
hadn't
then.
have
Yeah,
been-
it's not like
Yeah.
he woke
Brought-
up
been
one
brought it.
morning and was like, remember when I was coked out of my mind and I went on Howard Stern? I really should tweet about that and
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Like,
will say, though, his apology at least wasn't like, I'm sorry you got your feelings hurt, Toots.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
it
like
wasn't
everybody
I'm
else.
sorry if. It was a full-on,
Yeah.
I'm a
I
bad
was wrong.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like what he said on Howard Stern at that time, like that is who he is. So, like, even though
Yeah.
he's giving that apology,
Yeah.
he still is the person that he is, and that there's only certain things you can
Yeah.
change about a person, and that is one thing you cannot change about a person
Right.
is who they truly are.
That's true.
At the end of the
That's
day,
true. That's
and
true.
I mean, if he thinks that it's fine to rape a 14-year-old girl and they know what they want, then
I mean,
that
when
is
you
the type
say
person.
they know what they want, like,
Yeah.
I'm immediately like,
I still don't know what I want.
please,
I know.
please don't go near women. Like, stay away from them and children.
Yeah.
Don't go near children at all.
No.
Like, a 14-year-old does not want it.
And she's not a 14-year-old is not a woman.
No,
She's a child. She's a fucking child.
She's a child.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what he had to say about Uma Thurman. So I'm not going to go through the whole article, but there's a 36-page article in Deadline about this
I'm
where
sorry,
he talks
what?
to Deadline about the whole thing. So what he says is, I knew about the article. Uma talked to me about it. I was in support of it. I was supposed to be interviewed by Marie Dowd or whoever.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be interviewed by her to give my side. She never contacted me, so I didn't get to say anything. He's
My
like,
side.
well, he said he was in. This is his opinion. Or his side of the story. I was in support of it. He says, I don't have the quote here, but he basically said, I did not. The problem is, I didn't think it was a stunt. I didn't see it as a stunt. He's like, I certainly didn't go in there and yell at her and tell her she had to do it. What I did do was I told her to trust me, and she did, and that was wrong. He said, I told her to trust me. I told her to get in the car. I drove down the road myself, and it was a straight line, and I thought it was okay. Then we ended up turning the shot around and doing it in the other direction because the light was better. But I didn't drive the other way and check that way out. And there was a curve at the end, and I didn't see that.
Magical curves don't exist.
But the thing is that if you're in a car, it's a stunt. Like,
Right.
A car is.
And also his reasoning is just factually flawed.
I'm
You
not
don't
s-
drive down a straight road in one direction, you turn around and you drive back down
yeah,
that straight
and he
road in
said
the other
that.
direction and say that there is a curve there now. There
He
is
said-
always a curve there.
He said we shouldn't have turned it around and not tried it out. I shouldn't have told her to get in the car. I broke her trust. And he said, it's not just my biggest regret about that film. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life, because after that, we didn't speak for 2 years. So apparently they didn't really talk to each other very much after that. He's like, I wasn't part of the cover up. But there was like parts of it where he's very dismissive as well, where he's like, after that, it's an insurance company issue. Like, I stayed out of it at that point.
Yeah.
It was State Farm's problem.
I guess. And he's like, Harvey wouldn't give her the footage. There wasn't anything I could do about it. Harvey obviously didn't want the world to know about it. Harvey refused to give her the footage. When she approached me and said, I'm doing this article and I want my footage, we looked through, I'm not defending him. This is what he said. Yeah. He's like, we went through warehouses. We pulled out boxes. We found the footage, and I was great. This is what he said. I was grateful to be able to give her the footage and give her the closure that she needed. So according to him, he was fully on board with this article. He's like, I didn't get a chance to say anything, so I got dumped on. All the people that she blames, Harvey and Lawrence Bender, all of those. And Lawrence Bender was not named, the producer Lawrence Bender, who produces a lot of Tarantino's films. They lawyered up, so their names were not in the article regarding that incident.
And that's the
So he's
thing.
like, I had to take all the heat for everyone else.
But that's the thing, is like Quentin Tarantino, like if he really wanted to be quoted in that article, all his publicist had to do is make a couple of calls. He is big enough to be like, I'm sorry, New York Times, you cannot run this story yet until I comment.
Yeah.
He allowed it to go to print without it.
Yeah.
And
Or maybe he didn't know about it, and this is just him.
No, I think
No,
that
I think he knew about
he
that.
got her the footage. Like that was very clear. He all so I think it's
Him
good
saying I'm
that
dumped
he
on, like
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
bullshit because
Yeah.
like you
It's
can
a very,
you
very
can rebut it.
manipulative way to put it.
Yeah,
it
by
doesn't
saying
seem like
I
it
didn't-
accepts responsibility
No.
fully
Right.
to me.
He's saying I didn't get a chance to comment, and like you definitely had a chance to comment. You could have commented,
had
and you
several
just
years
you
to
needed
comment
some.
on it, actually.
Yeah, you needed somebody to write a response for you. You needed a 36-page deadline article about it.
No, I think he should have apologized, came out and said yes. I mean, I think he should have been supportive of this article. I think he should have given her the footage. All those things are great. The problem is, the core problem still remains that the reason this incident happened at all was because some egotistical director decided that they wanted something to. The whole reason this was done was because I need to see her hair blowing in the wind, not a stunt
Not
double.
a stunt
Yeah.
doubles.
So this was all about an egotistical, out of control, power hungry bro in charge
Yep.
who wanted things a certain way.
Yeah.
And that problem remains whether you regret it or not. Now, what I did want to read you from the article was the thing that really stuck out to me in the Deadline article was his talk, what he said about spitting and choking on actors.
Jackie's face. She's like, let's hear it.
So okay. This is kind of long. In the case of the choking, when Go-Go throws the chain around the bride's neck, she's getting choked by it. Frankly, I'm kind of skipping a few words here, so I don't read the whole fucking thing. Frankly, I wasn't sure how we were going to shoot the scene. You've got to wrap the chain around the neck and see the choking. I was assuming that when we did it, we would have maybe a pull behind Uma. So he was saying he was going to try to fake it, and then he says, but then it was Uma's suggestion to just wrap the thing around her neck and choke her. Not forever, not for a long time, but it's got to look right. Otherwise, I can act all strangly, but if you want my face to get red and tears to come out of my eyes, then you need to choke me. I was on the other end of the chain, and we kind of did it only for the close-ups, and we pulled it off. That was her idea. And then he goes on to say, when I did Inglourious Bastards, I went to Diane Kruger and I said, look, I've got to strangle you. If it's just a guy with his hands around your neck, not putting any kind of pressure, and you're just doing this wiggling death rattle, it looks like a normal movie strangulation. It looks movie-ish. But you're not going to get the blood vessels bulging or the eyes filling with tears, and you're not going to get the sense of panic that happens when your air is cut off. What I'd like to do, with your permission, is get a really good look. It'll be twice and only for this amount of time, and the stunt guy will be monitoring the whole thing. Diane said, yeah, sure. She even said on film in an interview it was quite a strange request. But at that point, I trusted Quentin so much that sure. We did it 2 times. Diane said, okay, if you need to do it one more, you can. She agreed with it. She knew it would look good, and she trusted me to do it. I would ask a guy the same thing. In fact, I would probably be more insistent with a guy.
But do you write movies where guys get choked?
Good point. Anyway, the whole thing that it was done on, so like I almost understood the whole having to do something. Like, first of all, I didn't fully understand that people were really being choked. Like, I thought, I mean, you know what? You can have makeup and shit.
Yeah.
To make something
All you
look
should
realistic.
do is blow some menthol in your eyes.
Exactly.
And those tears will come.
Yeah.
There are such a thing as makeup artists. Like, that's why we don't really slash people's throats in horror movies, because you
What?
can have a fucking
We
makeup
don't?
artist.
I really need to put some disclaimers.
The description of how he was like, he went up to Diane Kruger and said, I have to choke you in this scene for it to be real. That is what really disturbed me about this whole thing in this article.
Yeah, but also like,
I'm just going to choke you twice and only for 30 seconds.
but I also wonder what sort of coercion that is. Like, I mean, that's the thing is like you're on a set with what?
What are you
at
going to say?
least
No?
40 other people
Yeah.
that are there waiting on
Are you
you
gonna
to
be
get
a
choked.
difficult
This
actress?
This one shot, it's relying entirely on you. And he says the only way to get it is for me to choke you for 30 seconds. And you're thinking to yourself, all right, it's 1 minute of my life, like 2 times, 30 seconds, a man choking me. I can do it.
I trust him.
Handle
I
it.
want it to look good. I want this to be the best movie I've ever been
but
in.
also I don't want to let these other 40 people around
Yeah.
me who are all looking at me as I make this decision. What am I supposed to say? No? Like, no, you can't do it.
She never should have been asked that in the first place.
No.
Absolutely not. Plus, God forbid something went wrong. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like when you choke
Like, what if she had an
someone-
asthma attack or something?
Yeah,
you
like
know?
you can puncture the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You can break somebody's
Yeah.
neck sometimes
Yeah.
if you choke hard enough. Like, God forbid something happens and somebody dies because you
Because it had to look
it's
right.
Too movie-ish.
Yeah.
It had to look
It's
right.
too movie-ish.
Guess
And
what? It's
also,
a fucking movie.
What's
Yeah.
this is safe word too? It's like, how do you know she's acting and not actually choking and dying?
Right. Exactly. Like that is a life and death thing that he asked her to do.
Yeah.
And she went along with it. And
And you know what? I'm not in this business for life or death.
no.
Nope.
I'm not.
No.
Maybe I'm not
No.
Diane Kruger. Maybe I'm not Quentin Tarantino. But I won't. I would never want anyone to ask me to fucking do that. And I would like to say that I would say no, but I feel like anybody,
thing.
if I was on a big fucking movie and I really wanted to do well and I didn't want to seem like a quote difficult actress, maybe I would feel the pressure to say yes. And that's the whole problem.
I
Yeah.
get
Is
that.
feeling
I totally
the
get
pressure
that. I do.
to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing because you don't want to be a difficult actress and you don't
Right.
want your career to be tarnished and you want to trust the person. I feel like, again, I want to go back to this auteur theory where you're like bred to believe, like we're told to believe in this like mythical father figure on set who wouldn't hurt you and like will shepherd you through this creative process. And like, so that breeds this environment where people feel like they have to say yes.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean,
I totally agree.
I definitely can understand. You just want to make everybody happy, and you want to, you want to be a team player and all that stuff. So I totally
And
get
that's
it.
how people fucking die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how Sarah Jones fucking died on
Yeah.
on those train tracks.
Yeah.
Because some
Oh, it was
asshole
awful.
director wanted to get this shot on the train tracks and did
didn't
not
get
get it
permission.
cleared.
Yep.
And everybody was like, well, I don't want to be difficult, so I'm not going to say no.
Right. Exactly. And that was unbelievably unfortunate.
Yes. It was horrible.
And my grandmother always used to say, she would be like, "You can't take anything with you once you're dead."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't take that movie with you.
You can't take that
Exactly.
with you.
Nope.
It is not worth it.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. So, I mean, that's just sometimes I think with us as human beings nowadays, we have to step back and think about what's important sometimes. And we forget to do that because we're so eager to please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I absolutely think so.
Totally agree.
And playing the game. It kind of goes back to what we were talking
Yeah.
about earlier about playing the game
Yeah.
a little bit, and like, as I was saying earlier, like, I do think you need to play the game to a certain extent, but you need to pick and choose your battles as to how far you want to
Yeah.
take that,
But not the part of the game where you get choked.
Right.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
Like,
I'm
you
gonna
need
opt
to
out
know.
of that
You
game.
need to know when to be able to speak up for yourself when it's physically
And
going
somebody
to harm
else
you.
on the set should have been like, yeah, except we're not going to choke her because
Yeah,
she might
because-
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somebody else should have said that.
Someone.
Maybe that's not a good plan.
Yeah. Like, someone needed to slap Quentin across the. You know what?
Why don't we get a
someone
flight
should have been like,
choreographer in here, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
That's going to wrap it up for today's Lady Bits. We'd like to thank this month's special guest, Jackie Costello, for being on the show. You can stay up to date with any films, theater projects, or modeling gigs that Jackie is currently involved in by following her on Instagram at jmcostello14. Stay tuned for cast announcements for the next Critical Crop Top live sketch show. We've got an amazing lineup featuring some new faces, plus your returning faves, and we can't wait to give you all the details. To stay up to date on what Critical Crop Top is up to, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Critical Crop Top. And you can see our new live show on May 11th, 13th, 18th, and 20th at the Highland Inn Ballroom in Atlanta, Georgia. Tickets will be available for sale on our website, criticalcroptop.com/tickets. We're thrilled to have the entire Critical Crop Top catalog available for your viewing pleasure on Thea. Thea is an Atlanta-based content platform featuring the work of local Atlanta artists like us. Download Thea for your phone and have all the good stuff you want and need to watch at your fingertips. That's Thea, Thea. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Feminine Mistake Podcast. Come back next week when we'll be talking about A Wrinkle in Time with our special guest, returning for the third time, Jasmine Waters. You can keep the conversation going with us on social media. We're at Feminine Mistake Pod on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us on Twitter at FemMistakePod. Till then, if you've got a nervous breakdown you'd like to send us to read on the show, you can send that or any other correspondence to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com.
I'm Nicole Finari.
And I'm Stacey Moore.
And we're the hosts of Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives.
Nothing's off limits. From art house films to action blockbusters to animated kids movies, every film has something to say, whether we like it or not.
Check out Movies That Matter on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, because movies matter.
And so do you.